Hey, everybody. Today we have for you podcast number 100.
100.
Yes, 100. Are you addicted to your problems? Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. We are Doctors Pete and Sandy Lombardi, and this is the Limitless Life Network, where we flesh out the limitations that are preventing you from reaching your goals and living the life that you are called to lead. And Sandy, this is podcast number 100.
100.
Yeah, the big century note. And so thank you. Without anybody listening, we probably would not still do this. So thank you for listening. And we love to grow the channel, love to grow the viewership or listenership. So please like, follow, share, subscribe, comment, please. And thank you. Thank you. So anything else you want to say about podcast number 100? No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but 100 is kind of a big deal to actually. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I'm just saying, like, it's a big deal that we stuck with it to do 100 episodes. So, I'm not saying pat myself on the back or pat you on the back, but
that's you.
It's not. It's not either of us, really. It's just that we're inspired, I think, by something more than us, which is where I would like to give the credit, not to us, but to something bigger than us and better than us. So thank you for being a part of it. But today we have absolutely no backstory. So, I mean, just you kind of came up with the idea of this topic, didn't you?
Well, off of some things I had been reading.
Yeah, right. You were more just inspired by different things that you've been reading,
Yeah.
right? And I threw some things in that I've been reading, and so this is a hodgepodge of inspiration. Yeah, was that a good way to put it? Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about topic number 1. Let's get right into the meat of it.
Okay. So number 1 is life is an echo, or like a mirror.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
Well, like what you're focusing on is what your life will kind of become or reflect. Yeah. So what we focus on, put in, is what we're going to get out. So if we are loving to constantly focus on our problems, difficulties, that is what life is going to bring us. That's what we're going to see. I hit the mic again. It keeps reminding me not to hit my mic.
Hey, it's podcast 100. We're going to talk about everything today. Microphone abuse. So I think anybody that's listening has probably met those people that tend to ruminate on their problems. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that you have issues or problems. And we're not saying that whatsoever. It's the fact that many people, they're not looking for any help or any solution. They just want to continue to describe their problems and the agonizing detail of their problems. And we're actually trained this way. The news is wonderful at this. If you ever watch like the mainstream media news, they're really good at just bringing up the worst things in the world. So you think that nothing exists that is not bad, right? Like everything's got to be bad because that's all it's ever talked about when you turn on the news, is all the bad things going on, because bad things are like intriguing. It's fascinating, and it's going to make them money. It's going to, create more eyeballs to go to the page or to listen in and tune in. Tune in each and every night so we can talk to you about devastation and disasters everywhere. So, but as a result, you doing that in your own life, you start to rehearse that, and that's all you ever see, because that's all you're ever thinking about. And then when you describe it to other people, you're just putting it out there. You're putting it out there, and you're probably going to see more of it. It's going to continue.
Well, I'm just thinking it's likely a learned behavior. Like it could be. Perhaps you grew up in a home that was just full of negativity, and that was what you knew. It was this, cycle of negativity, and so that's the habit or the I don't know, the environment, I guess.
Yeah, it's a reflection of your environment that you grew up in.
Yeah.
That can be a way, but also many times people are going to do this because it deflects the attention off the real problem. It's a very common trick to kind of protect your ego, to talk about the problem instead of like looking deeper at like what's wrong. Like, why do these problems keep showing up in your life? Because it's usually something deeper inside of you that you're not willing to address.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of this, right? Guilty is charged, right? We talk about things on this that are things that we've experienced and have experienced. Maybe we're working through ourselves,
Right.
but don't think that we're coming at you and telling you this because we haven't lived it or are living it. So that's just throwing that out there. So yeah, it's a hard look inside. That's the mirror moment. Is that if you see something out there that you're not happy with, well, turn around and look, because the person in the mirror is usually very intimately involved in the problem.
Yeah.
And if these problems keep tending to show up over and over in your life, the common denominator is you. So that's a great place to start when you look at trying to solve these problems.
Yeah.
How's that?
Good.
Thanks. Well done, Sandy. Well done. All right, so that brings us to point number 2, which is what makes you come alive. I like this one a lot. So tell me about that one.
Well, what brings you purpose? What fires you up? What ignites you? And so we were talking about like being stuck in this negative pattern of talking about problems. Well, let's ditch that and think about what really sparks you and ignites you and brings passion into you, and move into that area of life.
Yeah, so it's hard for you to be in two places at the same time. To be in some place that you're passionate about versus some place that you are, not passionate about. So I often ask little kids or young kids, teenagers especially, like, because they're thinking about going off to college, they're thinking about what they're going to do for their future. And I just asked them, like, what are you good at that maybe you don't think is a big deal, but other people think that you're really, really good at? Or what is it that you can do that you, like, it seems like time just slips away so fast because you're just so poured into it?
Yeah.
Because those are usually where your passions lie, are areas where you can just do them for hours and on end, and it seems like only 2 minutes pass by. And you're like, wait a second, I've been at this for 5 hours.
We were talking to our son, Tim, about this. He could sit and draw for hours and hours and hours, and to him, it's like no time has gone by.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, certain types of work, I mean, just being busy with work makes time fly by for anybody that's ever done something that keeps you busy. But if you're doing it of your own accord, like you're not being paid to do it, but you could do it forever, that's probably something you're passionate about. And there just may be other things that you're passionate about, period. But what makes you come alive? Let's focus on that. Let's put our energy in that versus what's making things difficult in your life. Okay.
You could also focus on things you're grateful for. That would be another, thing there that could make you come alive versus the negativity.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I think what you were acknowledging leads us into point number 3, which is recognize and replace. So when we recognize that we're in this pattern of focusing on negative things in our lives, you would come across something that our pastors had posted where you think of one thing, but replace it.
Right. So, yeah, one of the biggest steps in learning is to actually first become aware, right? So there's different stages of learning. There's unconscious incompetence. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, right? That's when you're unaware of something and you have no idea that you're no good at it. So that would be maybe some obscure Olympic sport you didn't even know existed, Wow, that's an Olympic sport. What is it? And you're like, I wonder if I'd be any good at that. And you go out and you try it, like pickleball. I've heard of this thing, pickleball, but what is pickleball? And you've never played pickleball, and you go out and try it, and you're not very good at it. But then there's the next stage of learning, which is conscious and competent, which that's where you are. Like you're aware of pickleball. You've gone out and tried it, and you stink at it. But then you like it, so you keep trying it. So now you're practicing and practicing, and you become pretty good at it. Now you're consciously competent. And then the highest stage of learning is where now you've done it for 10 years or 10,000 hours, and you can play pickleball with your eyes closed and be an absolute master at it. And it's like falling out of bed. It's so easy for you, right? And you just make it look so simple. And that's what you see in the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Is this unconscious competence that just happens automatically. But when we look at point number 3, which is recognize and replace, it starts with becoming conscious first and then replacing it. So we're recognizing that, I am a complainer. Okay. Complainers Anonymous. And now I'm going to replace complaining with something positive. So, John and Christy posted this morning. I don't think John did this. I think Christy did.
Yeah.
I don't think John ever goes on this stuff, but it was these things that when you look at them, one begets the other. So laziness kills ambition, anger kills wisdom, fear kills dreams, ego kills growth, jealousy kills peace, doubt kills confidence. But if you read it in reverse, then it goes ambition kills laziness, wisdom kills anger, dreams kill fear, right? Growth kills ego, peace kills jealousy, confidence kills doubt. So if you can flip things around and focus on the good things, the fruits of the Spirit, right? Like start focusing on that. That's who God designed you to be, right? Was to be fruitful, and it's going to show. But that's where your attention has to be there.
Yeah. They're so good if you really think about a few of these. Like wisdom kills anger.
Right.
Think how quick we can be to get angry at a statement, a person, a situation, where if we spend some time and become knowledgeable, wise about the situation, the person, that will probably lessen the anger, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anger always has a cause, and if you can dissect it and really think about it and with wisdom understand it, right? Like understand the roots of it and why it's not good, right? It's not gonna ever produce anything good, right? So yeah. But those things, ambition, wisdom, dreams, growth, peace, confidence, all of those things are going to be productive in your life. Yeah. So recognize and replace. That's point number 3. And that brings us to point number 4.
Stand boldly and remove the exit.
All right. So what do you mean by stand boldly? Let's start there first.
Well, as we were going through these steps, all right, we've gotten to recognize and replace. So now we're going to replace, say we go with the anger. We're going to replace anger with wisdom. But then my thought was, then we have to stand in it. We have to be confident in it. We have to be willing to stand on it in front of others. We need to be willing to speak up in times of conflict, or we have to kind of separate from the insecurity and now stand in security of it. And then you had said, like, well, then we need to remove the exit.
Right. So it made me think of like removing the exit is like taking out your escape route, right? Like, okay, this sounds tough, but can I just go back to the way I used to always do things? Because that's easier to do. Well, it makes me think of the story of Cortez, the explorer, and his crew when they landed in Central America, I think it was. They were going to have a mutiny because they were not doing well. Like it was a tough go. And so they were planning a mutiny, and they were going to just get back on the ships and head back to Spain. And in the middle of the night, Cortez caught wind of this mutiny, and he went out and he set all the ships on fire so that they couldn't leave. That's a pretty bold move, but it gave them no other option. And so when you have no other option, you're going to work way harder. And one of the biggest strategies in tactical war is to always give your enemy an escape route, because you don't want to back them into a corner, because their level of commitment to the fight is going to be 10 times more fierce. Whereas if they have an escape route, they're going to not fight quite as hard. They're going to fight hard, but they're not going to fight quite as hard when they have no other option. So they always say give them some type of an escape route.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you have no escape, when you have removed the exit, you are going to double down and you're going to make it work. So, and what we're saying here is that it's not so violent as fighting and life and death in that regard, but it's a level of commitment. And when you can set yourself, if you really want to set yourself up for success, you're gonna model things that work, and you're gonna model behaviors that lead to greater commitment. And commitment means basically that you're gonna remove the obstacles to success. So an obstacle to success is escape, is running away, it's giving up, it's retreating. So if you're going to go back to your old ways, then what are you even doing? Like, if that's what your plan is right at the gate, like, as long as I have an escape route, as long as I can quit,
Right.
how soon can I quit? Could I quit after a month? I'll try this for 3 months. Then can I quit? Like, what kind of level of success are you really setting yourself up for when you always are thinking about where's the exit?
Yeah.
You
Really good.
So yeah, stand boldly, but is it really a bold stand if there's an exit?
Yeah.
And
you're already planning it out, really.
right.
To take that.
Yeah. And you may not think you're planning it, but in the back of your mind what you're capable of, how quickly you can skedaddle,
Yeah.
So, hey, guilty.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
done
thinking
it.
of myself. I
Right?
very often will
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
plan B already in place before
Right.
I've given plan A a full
A full
shake.
go. Like,
Yeah.
you really got to give it your all. Like, that's very rare that people want to do that. So just putting it out there. If you want to be rare, that's a way to do it. And that brings us to point number 5.
What goes in, what comes out.
Oh, yeah. It's a little twist on what goes in must come out. This says what goes in, what comes out. So this actually is referencing Matthew chapter 15. And it's really when Jesus was confronted by the Pharisees, and he's saying, hey, your disciples, the Pharisees said to Jesus, your disciples, you know what? They don't even wash their hands when they eat. Like, how could they commit such an atrocity? How could they break that rule? And Jesus basically said, you guys are such hypocrites, because you're telling everybody that it's okay to take, back in the day, back in those times, we were supposed to take care of your parents. It was
Hopefully that hasn't
the
stopped.
biblical thing, and it still should be to this day, that the law said that you're to honor your mother and father, which meant that as they were elderly, that you took care of them financially. Well, it just so happens that the Pharisees, they came up with this great rule that you could give the money to God, which meant giving it to them, and you didn't have to, you weren't obliged to do that anymore. And he's like, where's that tradition come from? You guys made that tradition up. And he said to them, you got to be careful. What you take in, what you eat, it goes into your body. But what comes out comes from your heart. What you eat, what goes in, goes out. And Peter asked him, like, can you explain this more to us? Like, I don't quite get all this. And Jesus said, listen, what you eat does not defile you. It goes into your body and it comes out. But what comes out of your heart through your mouth, that can defile you. So what we say comes from our heart. And if our heart has not been cleansed, and if our heart is coming from a place of less than, right? A place of deceit, right?
Anger.
Anger, greed, envy,
Jealousy,
lust, jealousy, all of these things that can defile you. And so I guess the point of this is that you've really got to guard your heart. And that's something our pastor's been really hitting on lately too. And I didn't even realize that was going to be tying into this, but he just said, you just got to guard your heart. He just wants to make sure that the church is always coming from a place of God's truth. The word is the truth. And that's something that's inspiring to me as I think about, one thing, no matter what, no matter how beat up I may be or whatever life is thrown at me, I can always count on sunrise and sunset. I can always count on the seasons. I can always count on all these things in nature that God has set up with perfect order and design. And it makes me know that, you know what, this design was not random. There had to be a designer to this design. And, how do you deny it?
Right.
How do you deny the order here? There was no big bang that all of a sudden everything blew up and it all came together in perfect order. That just statistically is impossible to happen. So just from a logical standpoint, it just doesn't make sense. So I sit back with this awe and wonder, and I'm so grateful. And so I just think that is such confidence to stand with knowing the truth that this exists, that there is a living God, and he wants a relationship with all of us.
Yep. Way beyond rules and laws. Yeah.
Right. Like it's not about that. It's
Personal.
it is. It's very personable. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing podcast number 100. We hope that you guys are enjoying this show and looking forward to what the next 100 podcasts turn out to be and where God is leading us. But that's a wrap for this week's edition of your weekly Limitless Life Network podcast. Be sure to tune in each and every week so you can stay connected, be inspired, and keep moving toward your best life by stripping away your limitations. And we will see you back next week.
Have an awesome week.